Welcome, everyone, to this edition of Fish Stripes Live. We have a very big show for you guys here today, previewing our last game before the All-Star break, going up against division rival, the Philadelphia Phillies. As you can see here, we have some new faces, some old faces, and some pretty faces. We have here Greg Kiefer, newest member of Fish Stripes, his very first show. Grant, it's great to have you finally on. Big applause. It's great to have you.
Let me get the balloons out. There we go.
Yeah, there we go. Some effects. There we go.
We have Master General here in charge of everything behind the scenes. Eli, always a pleasure to have you. And newest, well, I shouldn't say newest, but new to Fish Stripes Live. He's been on shows with Isaac and Kevin before from inside the Phillies, Alex Carr. Alex, it's also great to have you here tonight.
Always a pleasure, you guys. The production value always blows me away here. So very, very psyched to be a part of this. Really pumped.
We hope to have Isaac joining us later. He is covering the game. Kevin is doing around the world in 80 days. Who knows where he's at right now. But we're here to preview a big series for both teams. Marlins going up against the Phillies. We'll get into the big news that happened last night. But first, Alex, I wanted to get your take on the Phillies and have they met your expectations as we're heading into the All-Star break?
Wow, that is a big question. Have they met my expectations? I'd say, sure, probably. I think that a lot of folks were probably expecting a little bit more of offensive thump. Their run differential, their Pythagorean record, pretty good. But even now, I think people were still expecting a little bit more. Oh, Kevin. I love Kevin. I think people were expecting a little bit more offensive from guys like Nick Castellanos, namedly so. But, obviously, Kyle Schwarber's been immense. I mean, what can you say bad about that guy? He has been absolutely incredible. Bryce Harper prior to the injury was absolutely on fire, just the same guy that he's been for the last 2 years. Just absolutely unstoppable. The rotation's been great. Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola, last two starts, not as good as they had been earlier in the season, but I mean, those guys have been the 1-2 punch the Phillies have really needed. A couple guys have stepped up here and there too. Lots of the rotation has been relatively consistent. And the bullpen, I mean, nobody saw this one coming. The bullpen in the last month and a half has probably been, I mean, the best part of the team, the most consistent, the most, count-onable aspect of this Phillies team. So, some hiccups here and there, but for the most part, I mean, the guys that they needed to show up really showed up. Kyle Schwarber, Seranthony Dominguez, Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler, Bryce before the injury. So, it's been a really solid year so far, and they really have done well to get things back on track after, they fired that one guy that just didn't seem to be hitting the mark. And Rob Thompson has done an excellent job in his stead. So, all things being even, I think this is about where I expected them to be leading up to the All-Star break. Now that could change in these next few games. I would be lying if I didn't feel the same way as every other person that pays attention to Philadelphia sports right now entering this Marlins series, in that I think everyone's equally terrified. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to mention, what did you see from the Phillies in the last 4 games? I was looking at the schedule. Have lost 4 in a row, 2 to the Cardinals, and got swept by the Blue Jays. What did you take from that Blue Jay series? Sometimes it's a little difficult to go play up in Toronto with their offense, and they have some really good pitching. Just what did you see from the Phillies in playing up in Toronto?
Yeah, that Toronto team is really good. They're just underperforming, but they are. Oh man, I mean, they always. I don't know how close attention you guys pay to the Phillies, but in 2020, Toronto had this absolutely brutal blowout game. They had a 7-run comeback. It was the worst. It was the worst game ever of all time. But the Phillies had a bit of a hard time getting their pitching staff together. The bullpen game in the first game in Toronto. What are you going to do? Some guys that were unvaccinated weren't able to travel, and so their usual depth options they didn't have access to. So bullpen game actually was the better game of the two, shockingly enough. Obviously just a 1-run game. Offense really needed to show up. They did not. You win some, you lose some. Second game in Toronto was pretty pitiful. Zach Wheeler just didn't have it. He had it in the first 3 innings, but offense didn't really help him there. They had 2 hits. So not much you can really do. And against the Cardinals, the offense really didn't show up that whole series. You can hear the nerves in my voice. Excellent. That's Pete. Awesome. Yep. Glad Pete can psychoanalyze me right now. Ultimately, I think with that Cardinals series, they played really good baseball. Those first 2 games, they were dynamite. Even though the offense didn't really show up, the pitching was absolutely unstoppable. Those last 2 games, again, they were both relatively close, except for the tail end of the last game kind of got out of hand a little bit, but they were both relatively close. The offense just needed to show up, and they haven't. They are ice cold coming into this Marlins series, and a big part of that is Kyle Schwarber and Rhys Hoskins. They are pretty cold right now. They were 0 for 16 in Toronto with like 6 strikeouts. Not good. Nick Castellanos has shown a little bit of signs of heating back up. We'll see. I don't think we're really going to see much momentum from him until after the All-Star break. He needs to take a second. JT Realmuto's back in the lineup. We'll see where that goes. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. It really has been difficult for the Phillies since Bryce Harper got hurt. It's been tough to find that big hit in those top situations.
Yeah, and just in terms of playing time, because Harper kind of had the DH spot locked down due to his unusual situation, the fact that he really couldn't throw, that they had to leave him in that spot. How have that playing time been dispersed among the rest of the roster?
So it's been pretty cool. Derek Hall, who I have had a relationship with for a little bit, but he's one of the nicest guys I've ever had the pleasure of covering. Got the call, long awaited, 26-year-old, about to turn 27, big bat. I mean, we're talking power bat, but really only effective against right-handed pitching thus far in his career. That being said, he's having a career season, had a career season in AAA, and has come up and has been immense. I mean, he's batting cleanup for the Phillies now. It's crazy against right-handed pitching only, really. But it's pretty crazy. He's been able to come up, and he's falling off a little bit now. But I mean, the guy was absolutely on a torrid pace when he first came up. 4 home runs in his first 4 games, I believe. I'm getting that right. He's been pretty good. He's been exactly what they needed. He's kind of starting to lose a little bit of steam. Like I mentioned before, at the top of the lineup, kind of started to lose a little bit of steam. But mostly, Nick Castellanos has been staying in right field because Derek Hall has been mostly getting the DH reps. Because what else are they going to do? They need a bat. And with Nick Castellanos struggling, you got to have somebody to drive in those runs. And so Derek has been the guy to do it. Bryson Stott has also been a really big part of what the Phillies have been able to do of late. He has struck out, I think this is correct, 4 times in his last 20 games, which is crazy. And then he's walked, I think, 8 or 9 times to work conversely to that. So he's also had a couple home runs in his last few. I mean, he's really starting to heat up now. And Matt Vierling too. Both of those guys are definitely names to watch if you're playing against the Phillies these days, because they both are really starting to see some progression. And that's exciting. That's really exciting, especially because shortstop and center field have been such areas of need for the Phillies for so long. So they're finally starting to see some growth there, which is nice.
Yeah, another thing I wanted to mention, you talked about that bullpen game. I want to really quick talk about one of the pitchers that had the largest outing, Mark Pell. was drafted over a decade ago, first overall, finally making the majors at 31 years old. We see Mark in that 3-inning performance because I believe looking at it here, they're pretty good. 5 hits, 1 run, 2 strikeouts. Would you like to see him in a role kind of like that? Maybe not a starter, maybe low end, get kind of innings like that. Is that how I'd like to see the Phillies use Mark Appel?
Yeah, I think the long relief role is a pretty good one for him. If not long relief, maybe like a multi innings. But man, what a story! I mean, you can see in this lovely little subline here, he has been he's been grinding for so long, and I had the pleasure of speaking with him, a little while back. Just one of the nicest dudes. That is like ultimately my big takeaway from this year. The Phillies are really promoting some nice people, and that's really nice to see. Mark is just one of the classiest dudes in all of the Phillies org. But he's been working his butt off, and it's really paying dividends. Touching 97 with his sinker. It's a hard sinker, gets a lot of ground ball contact. Doesn't suppress hard contact as much as I would like to see. I think that's eventually going to catch up with him. But he told me when we spoke that, when he has all 3 pitches going, he is at his best. And man, the other night, his changeup was going crazy. His slider too, but his sinker and his changeup, they tunnel really well. He got some really, really good whiffs on those pitches. So I was really excited. I'm excited for him in general. When he gets into a game, I mean, it's sublime. It's really great. At 31 years old now, too. So, the Phillies, they're not just going to promote him to then, be wishy-washy with him. He's 31 years old. He is in the prime of his career right now. So he's not getting designated for assignment unless something, wacky goes on. This is not like a, maybe he gets optioned here or there, but he's going to be on the Phillies 40-man roster for quite a while now. They saw a time to promote him, and that's where he's going to stay. So, just an incredible, incredible story. And one of the greatest guys. It couldn't happen to a better person. Truly, he's awesome.
Yeah, I'll be covering the game on Saturday, and of all the players, he's probably top of my list of guys to talk to. Just his amazing story, where he's at now, and just the way he's performing. You mentioned optioning and that type of guys. I want to talk really quick. Probably the biggest news as of late from Miami, bringing up Max Meyer. Their number 2 prospect, probably one of the top prospects in baseball. Marlins fans at 11 o'clock, and I got the text from the notification from Marlins, and everything just blew up. Grant, you're one of the guys celebrating. What can we expect from Max Meyer, and what was your reaction to him and the call?
Look, he's been putting up some really big numbers in Jacksonville recently. I feel like I get a notification every 5 days from MLB TV that Jacksonville is one of the featured games. And, this Marlins team definitely needs a spark right now, right before they need to decide if they're going to buy or sell. And as you see there, we'll look at that ball placement. He's just an incredible prospect, and I think it's time to call him prospect no more. I think he's going to be here to stay, and it's such a big spotlight on Saturday with so much going on at Marlins Park and the storylines. I feel like he's going to put on a show, rightfully so, for his talent.
Should we play the hype video that the team put out right before the show started?
Yes, that gave me chills. It was pretty good.
It's a little bit loud, but take a listen.
He's a 6-foot right-hander, touches triple digits.
This is a dynamic, electric arm. This is an alpha male type guy. Fastball plus to upwards of close to 100 miles an hour. He is big league ready with respect to elite arm. This guy's a real baseball.
That has me hyped.
Let's go.
I didn't see one Pete Pratt tweet in there. The bad hype video. I'm just playing. How cool is that?
Eli, for maybe if some people are new here, just finding out the Marlins, or maybe not know a lot about Max Meyer, what can they expect tomorrow from one of the top prospects in baseball?
They can expect just a very well-rounded pitcher, which was maybe not the case coming out of the draft a couple of years ago. There were questions about exactly what this looks like as a starting pitcher and over a long period of time. he had such a high floor coming into pro ball just because of how special his slider is and how good his intangibles are, the experiences he had in several different roles while he was not only in college, but also playing for Team USA as well. Like he checked a lot of boxes that you liked, but I mean, the big question was about his changeup, was about his size as well, that listed at about 6 feet tall, and that's pretty accurate. Somebody that, in terms of both height and weight, is not what you typically expect from a starting pitcher. The big difference this year, even entering spring training, you could see the work that he'd put in with his changeup, his willingness and comfort level to use it very consistently against both lefties and righties, and the fact that he's just continued to add velo as well. You know, there were times in 2021, this hasn't quite been a perfectly smooth ride for him in pro ball. It's been great, but there were times last year where the velo was not exactly where you'd want it to be, and the command wasn't either. He was having good results, and he has kind of erased all those doubts about him this year. And that's why it's been reflected in the way that his prospect ranking has climbed even higher by anybody that's paying attention. And this year, I think he's made 12 starts at AAA, and in 10 of the 12, he's allowed 2 runs or less. The only 2 where he allowed more than 2 runs were ones where he got hurt, where he was pitching through ulnar nerve irritation in his arm. That's the reason why he wasn't up even sooner, is because of the injury and because he wasn't able to really perform through it. So they shut him down for a few weeks, and now he's back, and now he's awesome. And he's got 3 very good pitches. He's got better command of it than people were expecting. He's even added a little weight too. Like, even aside from this first start, I think if you want to feel comfortable about him physically holding up a little better than guys with his profile historically do, you can feel pretty confident in it. I know Craig Mish, for one, is somebody that just raves about the intangibles that he has, the mindset that he has, the really confidence is kind of a cliche and a catch-all word that people like to use, but he is just so determined to be successful that I'm, even regardless of what the early results look like, I have so much confidence in him making the adjustments necessary to have a very long career.
Yeah. Alex, what was your reaction when you saw that the lineup, or I should say the pitching matchups, are going to change on Saturday, and you have to go from Sandy to the Marlins prospect, potentially Trevor on Sunday? Just what was your reaction and seeing, Phillies going to have to go back-to-back Sandy and Max?
Yeah, so I like, I'm sure all of you, I also have Craig Mish notifications on, mostly because he's just my favorite in all of the, I feel like every time I get asked to do something Marlins related, I talk about Craig Mish, but he's an inspiration to me personally. He's professionally everything that I would ever want to be. He's fantastic at what he does. He's the best. He interacts with the fans in such an awesome way. And I'm a huge Craig fan. So naturally, I think I was like the first person to retweet his tweet when he announced that Max Meyer was getting the call. For me, I'm also, Eli knows this, but I'm a little bit of a closeted Marlins farm fan, I guess you could say. So I pay really close attention to the Marlins farm. So I've watched a lot of Max Meyer. I really, really, I like him a lot. As much as I hate to say it, like Eli said, the first thing that really stands out to you, I think, when you first start digging into Meyer is the confidence. And yeah, it's a catch-all cliche, but he exudes it. It drips off of him, right? I watched that video that the Marlins posted where, he got his call up there. He was talking to the AAA manager at Jacksonville. And he was like, what's the one thing you've always wanted to do? And he's like, get a ring. And like that deadpan, get a ring. And he's like, yeah, but where? In the majors? I'm like, all right, that kid's cool. But yeah, I think, obviously he's worth all the hype. He's very, very talented. And I believe, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, heading into 2020, his slider was the best pitch in the draft. If I recall correctly, it was heralded as like the best pitch in the draft class, something of the sort. So he's really good. I mean, and if there's one thing the Phillies have struggled with this year, it's sliders. Nick Castellanos has a massive hole in his swing, down and away slider. JT Realmuto, the same. I can't promise you'll be lucky with somebody like Kyle Schwarber, maybe not even Rhys Hoskins, but look, those guys are cold right now. I think Max Meyer is going to carve the Phillies up. I do. And I think that look, maybe that results in a loss for the Phillies. Maybe it doesn't. But I think he's getting a pretty good matchup here, especially because the Phillies are missing two of their best hitters, Gene Segura and Bryce Harper, both out for the foreseeable future. So he's getting a little bit of a hamstrung Phillies lineup here, and I think he's going to succeed. Now, obviously, the Phillies supporter in me wants to make that a reverse jinx, but it's truly what I believe. I think he's going to succeed. And like Eli said, I think regardless of whether or not he does at first, I think he'll make the necessary adjustments to have a long career. I echo what Eli said. He's a talent.
Yeah, I remember I posed this question in our space last time. I wanted to ask Eli, what do you think this does for maybe his confidence, or how confident the team is in Max to have him start on Saturday ahead of Trevor against the Phillies, when they really are desperate for a win right before the All-Star break and the trade deadline? What do you think this says from the front office to Max to put him in that kind of start?
I'm not going to answer your question. I'm going to answer it differently. I think it sends a nice signal to the fans from the front office, because what I was worried about was the Marlins being too reactive instead of proactive. Like, they have this shaky back end of the rotation with Trevor obviously not having the season we expected. Every single start, there's a little something that goes wrong that holds him back from putting together a true great outing. And the overall results kind of speak for themselves. And then there's Daniel Castano, our Italian stallion, who to this point in the season has had arguably his best season. And yet there have been certainly obvious cracks in the armor with him just because of the lack of stuff that he has and the ability for, you would think, teams to eventually adjust to the kind of slop that he is throwing out there. It hasn't happened yet. I was worried. I was really expecting those guys to both make their starts on schedule, Trevor on Saturday and Castano on Sunday. And then if one of those two really struggled against the Phillies, then that's when, after the All-Star break, Meyer was going to come up and take the rotation spot. This is, as it turns out, he's taking Castano's spot in the rotation with him getting optioned down to AAA. And that's the totally right move. There's not a single sane person out there that entered this year thinking you'd rather have Castano pitching for the Marlins than Max Meyer in the middle of the season, during a season when the team, by the way, is like right within striking distance of this coveted postseason spot. So I'm pleasantly surprised. I think this sends a great message to the fans that they are being proactive, that they know how to analyze their own talent. And at this stage of the season, where there's no service time games going on here that can really play a factor in the decision, like, there's no excuse for why he was continuing to be down, other than just complacency, other than just being poorly run. I mean, we have talked about this team and how their roster management mistakes the last couple of years have cost them games, that winnable games. This team has underperformed last year and to the early portion of this year just because they're not using their best players at the major league level. It is Eric Gonzalez every few days going up and down and up and down. It was Williams Astudillo for a full month. I'm sorry, Daniel, but Astudillo is not an effective Major League Baseball player. And they had him doing just stuff, just laying around there for an extended stretch of the season instead of calling up guys that can hit. I could ramble on and on about this, but this really did go in a different direction from a lot of these other roster churn that we've seen from the team. And it is something that I would expect to eventually, as the season goes on, they're going to win more games, having Meyer pitch every fifth day than Castano. That's pretty obvious.
Yeah. Grant, I want to ask you, what do you think this does for the other guys in the rotation that aren't there right now? Guys like Eddie Cabrera, guys like Luzardo, when they do eventually come back?
Look, I think hopefully for them, and unlike another pitcher we have recovering from injury, it gives them a little bit of motivation to get back up there. You know, there's a limited amount of spots left, really. So you got Sandy, Pablo as your guaranteed spots right now. Obviously, Max Meyer will take one as long as he doesn't end up being a bust. And then you got Trevor Rogers right now, who we all thought would hold one of those spots last year, being the Rookie of the Year runner-up. But right now, it's just looking like teams are figuring him out. Like with his last start against the Angels, he just one trip through the lineup, he did well. But after that, he started allowing runs. And it was just bad all around for him. I think he's becoming pretty predictable. And so you got, let's see, so Cabrera's with the Blue Wahoos. Luzardo's with the Hammerheads, and Sixto with yet another bullpen session, which I feel like I've been saying for about a year and a half now. So eventually these guys are going to come back. I know there were rumors floating around about Luzardo potentially needing Tommy John, potentially. Luckily, that seems to be false right now. So when you have Luzardo and Eddie come back up, does that mean that Trevor and someone else goes down? I don't feel like that's quite fair to some of them that have been performing well. Maybe not so much Trevor, but I would like to see, a good competition. And then whoever doesn't make it, maybe you trade them and flip them. We've been talking about that a while. We have a surplus in pitching talent, not a lot of hitting talent because we can't exactly develop it all that well. So I'd like to see, maybe Edward Cabrera gets flipped for, a Brian Reynolds or Ramon Laureano, like one of those guys. So I feel like that's the direction they need to go in. And that's just what I want to see.
Yeah, and another thing, the last name right there, Sixto Sanchez will throw another bullpen. Eli, is there any way you can get the video of Sixto throwing that he had a few days ago?
That made me nauseous. I don't want to share that.
I saw that video. Oof.
It looks like a dad at Saturday League. I mean, it wasn't good.
Former Philly was traded in the JT Realmuto trade. Alex, what are your thoughts, reactions, seeing almost a fall from grace from Sixto, from having really great starts in the postseason to now, who knows if we'll ever throw in the majors again?
Yeah, Eli and I talked about this 2 years ago, I think. We were talking about, revisiting the JT and Sixto trade. And we talked about kind of, concerns surrounding his, I guess, off-field traits. And look, for me, I know that, and I don't want to take this to a place that it doesn't need to go, but I know that baseball can be a little bit of a judgmental sport in the wrong way. And I think that certain actions can be perceived improperly by some of the people that are higher up in the baseball world. So I thought that was a lot of what the observations of Sixto were. I thought it was, a little bit unfair to him. 2 years later, I think we're kind of seeing why there were concerns about those things. And look, I hope all the best for him. I hope that he does find his way back to the majors, if only, out of a limited role, maybe a bullpen role, something like that. But it kind of seems to me that he needs to, kind of whip himself into shape here. Otherwise, he does run the risk of, maybe not getting to pitch in the majors again. Who knows? But I personally would like to see him succeed. I mean, when he is healthy, my goodness, it's one of the most unhittable pitchers this game could ever see. So I'm obviously looking forward to that day where he reappears. But as of right now, JT Realmuto wasn't doing great for the Phillies either. Now, obviously, that wasn't part of the trade. They signed him to a separate contract after he reached free agency. But, he's not doing all that great offensively. Defensively, he's still the same old JT Realmuto. And personally, I'm not one of those people that can complain about how he's performed. He's still on track to be a 4-WAR player this year. I'm not upset about that. But, I would like to see his bat pick up a little bit. That being said, obviously the Phillies moved on from Sixto Sanchez at the right time.
Yeah, I wanted to move in and talk about just a different topic before we get into lineups. I want to really bring up, the All-Star game is coming up. I want to bring up some snubs because I believe both teams currently have some snubs that do deserve to make the roster, play in the game. For the Marlins, it will be Anthony Bass, and for the Phillies, it will be two top pitchers, Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola. Alex, both these pitchers, when you hear them, you automatically not just think All-Star, but you think Cy Young caliber pitchers. And not to have just one of them in the game. What was your reaction finding out that none of them were going to play in the game?
Man, at the time that the announcement was made, Zach Wheeler had the 9th best ERA in baseball, had the 5th best FIP. I mean, there was no way he should have missed out on an All-Star appearance this year. I still think somehow he'll inch his way back in. Granted, his last start doesn't really help his case. But it's unbelievable. I truly cannot believe that he was overlooked in the nominations here. It's just it's unfathomable. He is easily a top 10 arm in all of baseball, not just the National League, but in all of baseball. And if last year wasn't enough of a showcase for that, this year should have just furthered that point. But here we are. It's unfortunate. I don't think he really would have pitched in the game anyway. He made his appearance last year. He did what he had to do. So I think he'll probably, given his workload from last year, and obviously some mid-season fatigue is setting in here a little bit. But just ridiculous. And Aaron Nola, again, his last start also doesn't help his case, but he's second in innings in baseball to only one guy, and y'all know who that is. So, I mean, if we're going to make the case for Sandy Alcantara being a workhorse here, Alcantara being a workhorse here, why doesn't the same apply to Aaron Nola? I just, sure, the on-surface numbers aren't as staggering, and granted, Sandy is doing unprecedented things right now, but you look at the underlying stats, Aaron Nola is having a great year. Again, I just don't understand. And you can also make the case for Sir Anthony Dominguez. Oh, a new joinee. Hello. You can also make the case for Sir Anthony. Oh, Isaac. Wait, I can't hear them.
I have them muted while you finish your thought.
Oh, cool. Okay. So also, Sir Anthony Dominguez, you can make the case. I mean, he and Anthony Bass, both, two of the best relievers in the game this year. Nothing. Yeah. Nothing to show for it. So, and thank goodness Coop got his due. But I mean, that's the least he deserved. That guy has been one of the most underrated hitters in all of baseball for God knows how long. So, I'm disappointed. Obviously, it should have gone a different way, but very, very happy that, Kyle Schwarber is about to appear in the home run derby. Bryce Harper still got his due. So, you win some, you lose some, I guess. Hello, gentlemen.
Now we have our press box report from Yordano Carmona, and we also have Isaac right before we head into our break. Fellas.
Hey, guys. We're here at the press box. Things are looking great. Max Meyer looks great. His changeup is ready to go. My prediction for the series, 2 out of 3. Sandy Alcantara
series MVP, and also need home run derby winner.
We're so optimistic.
I think 2 out of 3 because Noah is not here.
Noah, if Noah is here, by the way, he's winning lately. Yeah, I don't know what happened there, but he's winning lately. Yeah. And I guess I'm with Isaac. So they're going to win like 2 out of 3. They always somehow they beat the Phillies here. Somehow.
I'm gonna say they sweep the Phillies. Just because I wanna like create like something different.
I mean, Sandy, Max, and Trevor.
Yeah, it could be happen.
They couldn't.
They play different against the Phillies.
They couldn't beat the Pirates. They couldn't. I mean, Brubaker.
Marlins sweep.
Welcome to the Marlins press box, Alex.
Those guys.
This is the coolest press box in all of baseball. I swear to God, I would give anything to be there right now. Holy crow!
The only reason I'm not saying sweep is that the Philadelphia Phillies are Trevor Rogers' daddy.
It's true.
Yeah,
it's true.
Rhys Hoskins is going to be the MVP for the Phillies this series.
Before you guys go, who do you have winning the home run derby as your last prediction?
Home run derby. Pete Alonso.
All the time.
Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah. Okay.
How can you be like
the final? It doesn't matter. Like, we have any player in the home run derby for the Marlins? No, right? So the final is
we're not even supposed to have any player.
The final is gonna be Pete Alonso against Kyle Schwarber, and then Kyle Schwarber is gonna win.
All right, there you have it. That's it for us, guys.
I hate this guy, by the way.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Oh, best press box in all of baseball.
I gotta make my way down to Florida real quick. That is that's gotta be a party in there.
Yeah, I do want to take a second while we had Isaac on to mention that earlier today, he and I and Kevin, we recorded our interview with JP Arancibia, who was, I don't know if Alex remembers this. He was a Philly in spring training in like 2016.
Do I remember this? Oh, please. I would never forget. I had JP Arancibia on my 2015. When was he with the Blue Jays?
Yeah, something like that. Right
2015, something like that. I don't remember. Yeah. But I had him on my fantasy team, one of my first fantasy teams that I that I ever had when I was a wee bab. And man, he was giving me points on points. So thank you, JP. Appreciate you.
Yeah. So tomorrow on the same place you're watching this right now, in the morning, we'll be dropping that, as well as on, of course, the Fish Stripes podcast channel as well. Our interview with JT for Fish Stripes Unfiltered, talking about his first year working with Paul Severino on a consistent basis, doing both TV and radio, getting into his playing career as well. So he was a very good guest. He's not shy about talking about analyzing the game the way that he sees it is. And he is somebody that has a pretty bright future, we think, in baseball analysis. So wherever you guys are watching this right now, you'll be able to find that again on tomorrow for Fish Stripes Unfiltered with Kevin and Isaac and me behind the scenes for that.
Yeah. Eli, was that a break, or do you want me to just keep going?
Yeah, that was the closest thing we have to a break.
All right, I thought we had like a video or something, but well, now is the time, the perfect time to talk about, well, what we're all here for, the series between the Marlins and the Philadelphia Phillies. It looks like to be one of the most important series for both teams so far this season. We'll have the lineups coming up. Alex, what do the Phillies have to do to take away from Sandy's start tonight? What do they have to do to get Sandy?
I mean, every time I think that they might make some progress against Sandy, I'm always it just always bites me. That being said, they haven't looked as hopeless against him this year. Maybe that's, something to do with an upgraded lineup a little bit. Maybe that's, Sandy is out pitching 8 and 9 innings in every single one of his starts. So maybe, the fatigue is definitely not setting in, but maybe that just, he's a little less conservative, right? With where he throws the ball. Who knows? But ultimately the offense just has to show up. They have not done so over their last 4 games. It's a big part of why they are on a 4-game skid. If they want any hope of beating Sandy, they are going to have to show up. And you can say that about any game in any series, but truly right now it's more important than ever because of how tepid this offense has been. I mean, it has been bad over their last 4 games. So over their last 6 games, they hardly scored in the Cardinals series. The pitching was just so good that, they were able to take 2 home. So, they have to show up, and especially against the best pitcher in the game, they're going to have to do that.
There
he is.
Hi, guy, Alex.
Danny Alvarez. Danny, we're going to need your series prediction MVP and especially your home run derby winner.
Wow. Okay. So, series prediction, sweep by the Marlins, of course.
Wow.
MVP, Phillies killer number 1, Mickey Rowe. And home run derby winner, I got to go with Kyle Schwarber. It's going to crush. It's going to kill. Like, I'm rooting, of course, Venezuela with Ronnie. But, man, Schwarber is a beast. He's the only one that can take down Pete. So, yeah. I would say, though, Ronnie will defeat Pete in the first round. That's it.
Wow. Okay.
Whoa. Unseat the king.
If the Derby was in Miami, Schwarber would win it easily.
What?
If the Derby was here in Miami, then Schwarber would win the Derby. Easily.
That's good.
6 home runs in 12 games.
Yeah. You'll get it. See you guys.
Adios.
I love that guy. Oh my goodness.
Do we have the lineups ready?
Yes.
All right, now we have lineups. Grant, I wanted to ask you what is your biggest takeaway from either lineups? If we look at the Phillies, starting Mickey Moniak, and then we have Marlins getting back Jorge Soler, who just came off an assignment with Pensacola.
Look, you said it, and I know his numbers haven't been that great this year, but I'm so glad to see Jorge Soler back in that cleanup spot. I don't know how much more I could take of watching Avisel Garcia and Jesus Sanchez in that spot. So it's good to see some power. The Marlins have not hit a home run since last Saturday on Jesus Aguilar's home run against the Mets. So maybe we could see Jorge Soler finally end that cold spell tonight. I'm really excited to see him there. That's a pretty good top 3 right there too. Obviously missing John Birdie leading off. That's a big loss, but the reason why they got Joey Wendell is because we needed someone better to come off the bench that could perform. And we were really missing that these past few years, cycling in like Asan Diaz and stuff. So bringing in Joey Wendell is good for that, obviously. And in terms of the Phillies lineup, I'll give you one here real quick. Seeing JT Realmuto back in there after his little vaccine vacation obviously bodes well. You know, he always seems to play well in Marlins Park. So that should be good for them. And then I think Kyle Schwarber's going to have a big series. Him leading off should be good. Then Nick Castellanos back at his hometown. I would look for that there as well. Some good storylines.
Yeah, Alex, what do you see from your lineup in the Phillies? You mentioned Derek Hall DHing right in the heart of that lineup between Castellanos and JT. What really stands out to you from this lineup that the Phillies put out tonight?
Looking at it like this, it really makes me miss, being able to see Gene Segura and Bryce Harper in there. Obviously, big blows. I haven't looked at it like this, like right in front of me like this in quite some time with just all the metrics in my face. But I think something to really watch out for from a Marlins perspective. Like y'all said, Kyle Schwarber, plays pretty well against the Marlins. He is a little bit colder now, but I mean, the guy has 28 home runs on the season. You really can't count him out. Rhys Hoskins as well. Even while they've been scuffling, they put together some pretty competent at bats. So definitely gonna work some pitch counts here. Castellanos is the big one. He is quietly stringing together some hits. Had a blister double the other day against the Blue Jays that could have very well been a home run. But just he barreled it 108.8 miles an hour off the bat. I mean, he's finding something. I'm not sure if he's going to be back in full form for this series, but he's finding a little bit. Derek Hall always has the chance to hit one out, especially because the Phillies are facing two righties in this series. You'll see him in at least two games. Probably won't see him in the Rogers game, but you never know. And then, JT, like you said, coming back from an extended period off. Let's hope he makes up for some of the things he had to say about $260,000 odd some dollars. Bryson Stott's hot. Matt Vierling's hot. Yeah. It's going to be really, really interesting to see what that bottom of the lineup produces. Didi Gregorius and Mickey Moniak. Yikes. So we'll see how that one goes.
Yeah, and especially this pitching matchup with Kyle Gibson and Sandy. What can we expect from Kyle Gibson going up against the Marlins? How would you have seen his season so far going for Philly?
Yeah, this is kind of what you expect from Kyle Gibson, right? He's not going to be some kind of ace, but he in a market where it was exceedingly hard to acquire, controllable and affordable starting pitching. The Phillies did really well to snatch him up at the deadline last year. I thought that was a really well foresighted move by Dave Dombrowski. He's been all right. He really had a moment there. 2 starts back to back where he was just putrid. But he's really righted the ship here. He was outstanding against the Cardinals in his last outing. I think he got through 7 on like 84 pitches. He was pretty good. So, coming in here, pitching against the Marlins, obviously not as strong as a lineup, but still lots of power threats in here. And that has been Kyle Gibson's, main thing. He's really good at suppressing home runs. It wasn't the case a few starts ago. Looks like he's back at it. He's very good at suppressing home runs. He's hittable, but he doesn't let the ball fly out very often. So that will be an interesting thing to watch. I did not know that the Marlins had not hit a home run in, I guess, almost a full week now. But that will be something to watch. If it's against Kyle Gibson, I would be surprised. But then again, it's the Marlins against the Phillies. I would not at all be surprised. And as for Sandy, I mean, he's the best pitcher in baseball right now. He is. And I just don't think you have to get lucky. You have to get lucky to beat Sandy Alcantara right now. That's the only way.
Sandy Alcantara is a fucking stud. Absolute stud, Sandy.
There's no better man on the planet than Pete Pratt.
Oh, yeah.
There's no better man.
He's the GOAT.
Right. I think it is worth emphasizing, again, just how bad this Marlins offense has been. You, as much as you harp on the Phillies, in this lineup, there's nobody right now that's hot in this lineup. There's nobody. Joey Wendell, very quietly, has not been hitting for very much impact aside from
Eli. I see at least like 8 Philly killers in this lineup. I don't know what you're talking about, but Joey Wendell, Garrett Cooper, Jesus Aguilar, Jorge Soler, maybe not so much. Brian Anderson, Mickey Rojas. I mean, come on now. If there's any time for them to get hot, it's now.
Even Cooper quietly. This is maybe his coldest stretch of the season, where over this past week, just not doing a whole lot of stuff. And there are guys in this lineup, to be fair, that are dealing with some minor injuries, some significant injuries.
Cooper.
I mean, Cooper for one. Yeah, I mean, Cooper, we feared he might go on the IL a few days ago. Miguel Rojas, Alex, if you didn't see it, he chipped a tooth.
I did.
Yesterday.
I thought he did. He got hit by O'Neal Cruz's helmet, right?
Yeah.
I thought I saw something fly. I was watching the game and I thought I saw something fly, something white fly. I thought I was like, that could be a tooth, and then I was like, nah, couldn't have been a tooth. I thought it was like sweat or something. Really, it actually is a chipped tooth.
Yeah, he got it fixed at the dentist. He said he got stitches as well into his mouth, and he's good to go for this game.
Wow.
Yeah, very, very impressive. It's good. Brian Anderson is somebody that we were talking about very critically prior to yesterday's game. He's made, I'd say it's almost as much defensively as at the plate, striking out a lot, but also making really routine mistakes at third base. And he maybe this is what turned his season around, having a walk-off 2-run triple against the Pirates to salvage that series split. Maybe that is what gets him back on track. But prior to that, things were pretty low for him. Brian De La Cruz up and down. He's had some really big hits for them recently, but in between those hits, he's making so many fundamental issues, both defensively and as a base runner and in all sorts of ways, finding really creative ways to not help the team. I don't want to beat up on Jacob Stallings. I think that has been piled into the ground at this point, what you're getting from him at the very bottom of the lineup. And really the same thing for Avisail Garcia. They continue to put him in the middle of the lineup, despite the fact that he doesn't give you much aside from singles occasionally.
Phillies are doing the same thing with Nick Castellanos.
Right. Yeah. No, it's a very similar situation between those two, actually. I guess for the Marlins, it's fortunate that the difference is that it's about half as much money guaranteed to Garcia as it is to Nick Castellanos.
And he's a way better glove, probably. So, yeah.
Before we move into predictions, I want to do a quick topic and talk about both teams. And do you see them as either buyers or sellers as the trade deadline is vastly approaching? For the Phillies, do you see them more as buyers, sellers, and are there any players that you would want the Phillies to target?
Yeah, they're definitely buyers. They have to buy. They really don't have a choice. You're coming up on year 3 of this, Zach Wheeler, Bryce Harper, MVP Cy Young core. You have to make something of this, right? You have 2 of the best players in their respective roles in the entirety of the game. You have got to do something. And look, I will be the first to say they did more than enough this offseason to create a competitor, right? They stacked this lineup. Some of the guys aren't performing. C'est la vie. You've got to do something here. So for the Phillies, personally, they could use a center fielder. They could use a right fielder. Whatever way they want to do that is the way they'll do it. Matt Vierling will take either of those spots. Nick Castellanos will DH until Bryce Harper gets back. And we don't even know yet if when Bryce Harper does get back, if he'll be able to play the field. So don't know. That will definitely factor into the decision as to what they decide to pursue. But they definitely need one of those things. They could target an infield bat. So, someone like Brandon Drury, who is putting together a career season. And it's not just park factor for him. He's doing quite well. He can also play the outfield when need be. Feels like a really good fit. Feels like a better fit than almost anyone in the major leagues. Obviously the Dodgers are going to take a look at him. Maybe the Padres too. They look at everybody, don't they? So, I think that could be an interesting fit. They also just need a starting pitcher, and I'm sure they will pursue a controllable one. I think Tyler Mahle of the Reds makes a lot of sense. He's currently hurt, but is looking to get back on track, I think, after the All-Star break. So he's definitely going to be available, and he's definitely going to be, less pricey than Frankie Montas or Luis Castillo. I think that's the route the Phillies will probably go, just because they like having a controllable starting pitcher. They're losing Gibson and Eflin to free agency, and they probably don't want to face that starting pitching market where they're going to have to pay a lot more money with a roster that has a lot of highly priced players on it already. So I think they'll probably look for a controllable starting pitcher, and that will definitely be high up on their list. I think that's probably highest on their list. Bullpen's always a need for any team at the deadline. Look there. And, I'd be honestly not surprised to see them maybe replace a scuffling player or two in their respective roles. Namely, looking at somebody like Mickey Moniak, Odubel Herrera, Didi Gregorius. I think those guys are. Look, you're in the home stretch now. You're in the second half of the season. Your job as the Phillies general manager is to roster the most competitive team possible. And a team with Mickey Moniak, Odubel Herrera, and Didi Gregorius is not your most competitive team possible. That's just the fact of the matter. All three of those guys have looked overmatched, looked really bad. And so they got to fix that. That being said, I think the Marlins, if you want my take on it, I don't know if that was my job here. I think the Marlins should probably. It's hard to say. I think that they have the resources to buy, and they could really do a lot of great things using those resources, and they could really improve their team. Sorry for the sun getting in my way here. I should close these blinds. I'll get up and do that in a second. But they could do some great things with their resources. Will they? Who knows? I think that it would also behoove them to, there are some players that they can sell really high on. Pablo Lopez. I mean, they could get a heck of a return for him. They obviously would not deal like somebody like Sandy, anything like that. But it's a starting pitching market that is very, very limited. When you're talking about Noah Syndergaard being like the third or fourth best arm on the market, that's not a high bar. So I think the Marlins could really benefit from selling. That being said, I don't know if they will. And I don't know if that's just going to be something to appease the fans or if that's going to be something to, whatever. Maybe they're hamstrung by their already limited budget. I don't know. But if the Marlins would just spend some money, they could be so good. Yeah. And it's unfortunate that they don't.
Yeah. Let me get Grant's take while Alex go fights over the sun real quick. Grant, what do you see for the Marlins? This is actually live footage of Kim right now making deals. What do you think the Marlins need to do? Buyers, sellers? What's your take on all this?
Look, all month we've been saying buyer or seller. I'm going to go to 2020 route, and I'm going to say both. I don't think a lot of people have been saying this. I think what we should do is use some of these resources. We have a surplus of talent in the farm system. I think we should go get guys that are controllable for 2, 3, even 4 years and prepare to have them for the future. And then also sell some of these veterans, these stopgap guys, get some of these guys who end up surviving the trade deadline up, see what you have there, assess your needs, go out and attack it in the offseason and make 2023 and 2024 your seasons.
Yeah. Eli, anything really quick to add on buyers, sellers as we're really approaching the All-Star, or I should say trade deadline?
It's just so much of the same stuff that we're talking about all offseason long and early in the season about the obvious needs on this team, about wanting to get just one more reliever at the very back end that has been there, done that before, and still has some premium stuff. That's going to cost expire, especially if it's somebody's been a rental. And of course, the big elephant in the room is center field. They've been giving Jesus Sanchez such a long opportunity to produce in that role, and it has not worked out whatsoever. The guys said they've had split playing time with him on occasion. They aren't doing it. There would be several of these guys available on the market, either in trade or free agency, that they would have a chance to get. And after whiffing on those, there's just still nobody stepped up internally. And even looking down in the minors, all these guys are corner outfielders that all of a sudden are blocked by Soler and Garcia. They have a lot of talent in this organization, but the pieces do not fit together in such a way that it makes it necessary for them to make several significant trades at this deadline to make the pieces more complementary. The dream is to somehow pry Brian Reynolds away from the Pirates. We know the Marlins have been obsessed with him dating back to last offseason, and they just could not find common ground because they didn't want to give away their very best prospects. They were looking at this day with Max coming up, and they knew that he was a little too good to be for them. They were not comfortable making him the centerpiece of that, and probably still aren't at this moment. But is there any way to make that deal work? Because he addresses so many of their issues all in one foul swoop, not just as a player, but as somebody that is controllable for several years ago. It doesn't seem like that's happening, though, because I just remember that he is hurt right now. He did hurt his oblique and he's on the IL. which means that even if you do somehow land a deal with him, you can't expect all that much from him the rest of this season in particular. They're in a really tricky spot. They are. And to me, the team is close enough. And the one thing that I kind of harped on my podcast earlier this week is that they are close enough to keep pushing, and that they do have enough resources in terms of payroll flexibility and prospect talent to spare that you can make a push for this year without mortgaging your future in any significant way. It all goes back to Sandy and the way that he's pitching this year, not just the best year of his career, potentially the best year in Marlins history for a starting pitcher. It's the kind of year that even with him under long-term control, this does not happen. This is not something we've seen in baseball in a while. And as amazing as he is, he might not have another season like this, where he's an automatic win every fifth day, and he's doing it almost all by himself and saving the bullpen and overcoming the lack of run support. And they kind of not owe it to him, but they need to be realistic. They need to realize the sense of urgency that what they have with him is so special this year. He is a big reason why they are as close to the Phillies and the rest of the wildcard contenders as they are, because he single-handedly has been, in my opinion, the most valuable player in baseball. So they need to help him. They need to get him some more and realize that this is an important year. Even though at times we've almost lost hope, I point the thumb at myself as somebody that completely lost hope in this season way back in early June, and they have overachieved since then to stay in the hunt. They're going to need some outside reinforcements to get over the hump.
Let me ask you guys, if you were the Marlins general manager and you were presented with a deal where you could 1-for-1 Yuri for Brian Reynolds, would you do it? 1-for-1, straight up.
The injury now makes a complication out of it, because you don't know exactly what you're getting from Reynolds the rest of this year. When he was fully healthy, even when he was slumping, when Reynolds was just healthy, as much as I adore Yuri and what he can be, another Sandy potentially a few years down the road, I think you realize the volatility of pitching prospects relative to other guys, especially ones that you aren't seeing in the majors this year. If Brian Reynolds was 100% healthy, I would do that. I guess I don't envy the position the Marlins are in, because that is a tough call at this particular time.
It's really close. I think
I'm the GM in this scenario, right?
You are
the GM. Okay.
You are, Grant.
So if I have the chance to, add to this bullpen, maybe get one more other bat mixed in there, then yes, I do. I just think there's too many variables. If we're keeping the team as it is, and the only trade deadline move is Yuri for Brian Reynolds straight up, I wouldn't do it. That's too big of a risk. I don't think that instantly makes them a playoff team. I don't think this is a playoff team right now. I don't think just one guy really makes us a playoff team. I don't even think Mike Trout or Ohtani could do that for this team right now.
Well, I don't know. Shohei Ohtani.
Maybe Ohtani could, just because you got the pitcher and that.
2-for-1.
I'll tell you what,
the 2-for-1 there. So we'll say only Ohtani could do that.
The crowds at Lone Depot would be a lot bigger if Shohei Ohtani was taking the bump every fifth minute.
I mean, look, that was the biggest weeknight crowd of the year. Shohei's start, right? Besides
it was crazy in Philadelphia too. I mean, and that dude is unbelievably kind. Unbelievably kind.
Oh,
The Angels got there late. They got there late to the ballpark. There was some sort of delay. Shohei Ohtani still came out on the field for like 5-6 minutes and signed autos. Just cause.
What a guy.
Just cause.
What a guy.
Because he knows there are people that travel across the world to see him.
Yeah, just to see him.
It's amazing. And now the sun has come back into it.
Now with that, we'll get into everyone's favorite part of the stream. We'll go into series prediction. It is finally prediction time. For those of you who may be new, Alex, first time doing predictions here, we're going to need your series prediction, how many games, your series MVP, could be a hitter, could be a batter from either team. And then now, because we're going into the All-Star break, this is our last stream, series stream. We do have a draft stream coming up on Sunday. But for this special one, I wanted to add a special prediction, and I will need your home run derby winner. I will have that graphic up. So MVP, series prediction, and your home run derby winner. As you can see here, here's the beautiful bracket that Eli put up. Grant, since you're the newest member of Fish Stripes, Sally, you're going to have to go up first. You're going to have to lead us off.
So I'm glad I get to go first. I've been sitting on this for a little bit. I thought about it a lot last night. I could have gone many, many different routes, but for all intents and purposes, I'm going to go Marlins take 2 out of 3. And while I really wanted to take Sandy or Max as my series MVP, I think Jorge Soler is going to come back with a bang, a literal bang. I think he's going to get 1 or 2 home runs in this series. So that's my series MVP. In terms of this incredible home run derby we've got, I think Pete Alonso is going to hit the 3-peat. I don't really see a lot of other contenders here. I don't see a lot of guys built for the moment. Alonso has the experience. He knows what it's like to win. I think he's got it.
All right. Eli, you're up.
I have the Marlins also winning 2 out of 3 in this series against the Phillies, especially with the way that the starting pitching lines up. My confidence in all these guys that they have going on, even Trevor at the back end, I think he could surprise some people. In terms of series MVP, I've went in this direction once before to the bullpen. And I'm going to go back to it again. It's been a few weeks since I've done this. I don't think people are noticing what Zach Pop has done since they called him back up. A very unique way that he goes about it.
Wow.
He's become a one-pitch pitcher. He throws sinkers and more sinkers and nothing else, and it's getting results and stranding runners. I'm really impressed with him. I'm fascinated by what he has done. And the fact that they've been using him in the ways that they have, in high leverage, middle, late inning situations with runners on, that's when you can make an impact as a reliever, more so than actually being a closer. So I think he could surprise some people with how much value he'll have in this series. My Derby winner, Julio Rodriguez.
I like
I'll
that.
go with the rookie.
Alex, you're up.
All right. As much as I hate to say it, I agree with you guys. I think the Marlins take 2 or 3. I think that ultimately it's the pitching. The pitching is going to be what puts this thing away. I just think that at least 2 of these Marlins starters are going to go way too long in these games, and we won't get a chance to get into that bullpen. But bad bullpens are something the Philadelphia Phillies know all too well. So I think the Marlins probably take 2 or 3. I think that the series MVP, however, I think might just be Kyle Schwarber. I think this is a bold one, but look, Phillies aren't going to win the series, but he can still be in the MVP of the series. I think that he overtakes the major league lead in home runs in this series. I think Aaron Judge is ice cold, and I think Kyle Schwarber really likes playing against the Marlins. I think he could get 3 more here before the All-Star break and eclipse Aaron Judge. So we'll see. It would be nice if the Phillies could win a series where Kyle Schwarber hits 3 home runs, but I just don't know if that's going to happen. And then as for my home run derby winner, Albert Pujols. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's look, as completely as unbiased as I can be, it's Kyle Schwarber. I have never seen somebody. He has 14 home runs to center field this year.
Wow.
14. He out of his 28. He stayed so directly up the middle for so long. I can't fathom it. I've never seen anything like it. All of these balls just travel straight out to center. I can't imagine what he can do when he's allowed to pull the baseball. He's allowed to decide what he wants to do, and the guy will just consistently pull him. And I think stamina-wise, he's up for the challenge against Pete Alonso. They're both very big gentlemen. So I think the big thing for Pete has been his stamina in the home run derby. He just comes out and he just keeps going. Kyle Schwarber can do that too. And we've really never seen Kyle Schwarber in a home run derby before. I think this is his second appearance. So, I think he can do it. I think he's going to unseat the 3-peat. And I think he'll come out on top. I know he'll beat Albert Pujols. Unfortunately, even though I don't want him to, I kind of want Albert Pujols to get the win there. But it is what it is.
Before I give my prediction, I have to give Kevin's. Kevin texted me specifically to give his prediction. He says Marlins take 2 out of 3, win the first 2 games. He has MVP Sandy. And then for his home run derby, he says, I have Pete. By the way, make sure you say I am rooting for Julio. So that's right out of Kevin. He wants a 3-peat, Sandy, in 2 out of 3.
And also Noah's prediction. He just woke up from a nap. He was supposed to be on the stream with us, but he was napping through it. He says the Marlins sweep. He has Sandy as the MVP, and he has Pete Alonso winning the derby.
All right. And
then Isaac has changed his pick. He is going with Juan Soto.
Yeah.
Wow. I usually would. If I hadn't seen Juan Soto in so many derbies before this, I would be like, yeah, Juan Soto's got this. He just always underwhelms me every time. I love Juan Soto. Probably my favorite player in baseball right now. Unfortunately, I don't have enough confidence.
For me, I think I might have to go with Kevin. I'm going to go Marlins take 2 out of 3, win the first 2 games. And for my MVP, I'm going to go with Sandy. I don't think I've picked a pitcher before. I think Sandy's just going to have a really great game tonight. And then for my home run derby, I'm going to go Corey Seager. He's been really hot as of late. He had 5 straight home runs in 5 straight games. Coming back to LA, so he's technically the LA guy for them to root for. I don't really know about Albert Pujols. LA fans might be a little still mad at him there. But I think Corey Seager is going to have a home run derby, beat Tulio, and then I think he'll overtake Pete and win that home run derby. But that does it for us. Anything anyone here wants to mention before our outro?
I just want to say there's some Phillies fan out there that just screenshotted this right now with all of us saying Marlins go 2-1. We're going to see it on Twitter Sunday afternoon. They're going to see "Told You So."
And lastly, I want to thank everybody for getting our YouTube channel to 1,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
And just a few days after that, officially partnering with YouTube as well. So that means a lot to us for what we're able to do and grow this site. It's more than just the streams. It's every unfiltered episode. It's our What a Relief interviews with Marlins relievers that Noah does. And it's all the highlights that I put up here from both the major and the minor league sides. But more stuff still to come. And all that is because you guys stop by and have continued to support us. So we appreciate that.
And I want to say, Marlins fans out there, y'all are so lucky not only to have these guys, these gentlemen, and the great team at Fish Stripes, but to have just everybody in the Marlins social media space. Look, people like to joke about, there may not be a lot of them, but that doesn't matter. The quality is so much better than any quantity could bring. So truly, y'all are so lucky. Don't take it for granted. And when the Marlins finally do grow that, that fan base, and they finally do start, doing huge things, these guys are going to be spearheading that whole thing. So truly, thanks for having me on. I always love doing stuff like this. You guys are so much fun. It's a pleasure. I love doing it.
No problem. You're a great guest. You're back anytime. Hopefully Kevin and Isaac could join us there. But that does it for us. This really great edition of Fish Stripes Live. We'll be back live Sunday at 7 p.m. We'll be there for the first 6 picks of the draft. Should be a lot of fun. See who the Marlins take. But go enjoy this game. Go enjoy this weekend. For Daniel, for Grant, for Eli, for Alex, this is Fish Stripes Live. And always, go fish.